In Europe, they are able to trace all of the royalty down from one lineage. And when I went down this rabbit hole, I don't even remember how I got down this rabbit hole. Um, but when I delved into it, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Now, this blog site's a little wacky, so I'm gonna be like jumping around a little bit because, like I said, it really is a wacky website. So I will be jumping around a little bit. Let me pull. Oh, that's not the right thing. Okay. So, because I wanted to start with this one first because it kind of gives you a little bit of what I want. All right. Very interesting, though. Okay. So we're going to start in this little section right here. Um, a movie Above Majestic in 2018. Whatever that means. Okay. Well, hold on. Anyways, listening. Oh, very interesting. Yeah, let's looking glass about. Okay. Um, King George I elongated skulls in Denmark. All right. David Wilcock is saying this in the 50-minute marker in this movie, Above Majestic. King George I, who began ruling in 1714, was a direct bloodline descendant of these people who obviously had the elongated skulls in the 1400s. And then you find out that a variety of earlier British consorts, meaning nobility, were also direct descendants of the uh, Edesta clan. Then it gets even more outrageous when you discover that the royal families of Norway, Sweden, Spain, and Denmark are all descendants of the same elongated skull, the Esta clan. Did Macron strike a deal with Danish PM by sending his friends to PR? Okay, well, that's nonsense. But okay. Um, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? Okay, now this picture right here. This is the 1400s. The Italian noble de Esta family clearly displays these physiological features in various depictions, such as paintings of Pisanello. This becomes far more interesting once we realize the majority of European royal bloodlines have direct genetic ties to the Esta clan. So that's that part. Now we're going to jump into the other article, or blog, I should say, called Exposing the Cabal. Now this article also has talks about some stuff about the Las Vegas shooting, but we're not getting into that. If that's something you want to dive into, you can check out the link. It's in the description. Okay, so this is part two: exposing the cabal. A brief review of the cabal. The cabal apparently dates back to before the Roman Empire. They are vastly wealthy and believe in segregating their own bloodlines from everyone else's. They once ruled openly as Egyptian pharaohs, the Mesoamerican priesthoods, and the various royal bloodlines in Europe and Asia. One key characteristic that many of them have is psychopathy. This means they have a fearless dominance to seek power and have no conscience about hurting others. This type of disorder can be intentionally inflicted upon someone through severe, prolonged abuse, particularly if it is sexual in nature. Torture research going back to well before the Spanish Inquisition has proven that any human being can be broken after enough repeated trauma. Look at MK Ultra and mind control. This actually does change how their brains function in most basic ways. We make physiological modifications as a survival and coping mechanism. Though they see their behavior as a sign that they are more highly evolved, medical research shows the frontal lobes in the brain of psychopaths are nearly deactivated. Okay, and the frontal lobe is like empathy and all that. So that's a normal person. That's a psychopath. Could you imagine, like, you're going for like a brain scan? Isn't entire life you think you're a good person. They show you a brain scan, and it turns out you're a psychopath. Oh man, that would be quite the plot twist. All right. Okay, that's a normal brain on your left, and then that's a murderer on the right. Okay, imagine you're going into the hospital for a brain scan. You're thinking you're a good person this entire time. They show you a brain scan, it turns out you're a murderer. Oh man. This means an entire part of. It just clicks in my head. How does this have to tie into the president's bloodline? But then again, we have to remember that if you want to get involved in politics, you kind of have to be a little bit of a sociopath. So I think we're still on track. This means that an entire part of the neurophysiological that is built to feel empathy, compassion, and concern for others is simply not functioning. It is also possible to have a harmful overabundance of neurological activity in the frontal lobes. Instead of just manifesting as extremely sensitive and highly caring people, it will often create clinical OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay. So it's a normal brain, and that's a compulsive person. Okay. The slice here is taken at a different angle. Hence, the normal control does not look the same as in the previous images. Since the frontal lobes are the parts of the brain that process emotions, OCD leads to constant feelings of anxiety and hypervigilance. I can imagine that the people who run the World Economic Forum probably all have OCD. These people get caught up in obsessive looping thought patterns that are emotionally based, tossing around the same things over and over again. Okay, the US government. These obsessions are often traceable to unhealed trauma from how others treated them. They may fall into seemingly bizarre, repetitive behavioral patterns that often provide relief against the constant sense of anxiety they feel. Okay. There are many different types of obsessions these sufferers can fall into, including compulsive hoarding. Psychologists can usually trace the onset of these behaviors to one of the series of very intense traumas that alter the person's neurochemistry, and that ties into, like I was saying about MK Ultra, mind control. Jolly West, the guy who did that started that over here. I recently learned about Jordan Peterson and his ties to MK Ultra. I'm planning on doing a live stream about that. Okay, this is a problem we all must face. The psychopath is not affected by fear, punishment, shame, or the opinions of others or society as a whole, including morals and ethics. They have an enormous sense of personal value and grandiosity, and can modify their personalities to present exactly what people will respond to the most. Politicians. They will often be master manipulators, and they go to great lengths to be as physically and socially attractive as possible. Tell that to Carl Schwab. In the beginning, you will feel as if you have never been more in love, or at least you feel you have found one of the most fascinating people on earth. Okay. Oh, you're subtly being groomed. Okay, we're gonna move through this a little bit. There's a yin yang compensation. Okay, this is getting very sciencey, but I don't mind sciencey, but it's not getting to what I was hoping it would talk about. Here we go. Yeah, okay. Think about Oh, okay, here we go. This is a good part to start at. Okay, personal chances affect the collective. I do believe that as we cut the cords of individual level, we will see more and more examples of freedom breaking through the global level. The meditation effect I have written about in each of my books shows that consciousness is a holographic as worldwide scale. I agree with that. And I think that's also kind of like it ties into what I mean by like listening to mainstream academia, mainstream media. They create the narrative. They create the fear. They create the hopes, and it's all not in our best interests. And that's why it's kind of like it ties in with the president. Like you got to be a sociopath if you want to be in with any of these groups. I mean, if you think any of these people who in the World Economic Forum, Davos, Bilderberg, BlackRock, whatever, if you think any of those people are like good people, have your best intentions, they don't. I mean, look at our own government. Look at what's going on in Australia, what their government is doing to their own people. So, as it's all possible, and I believe that when you have a unified positive energy, and there's studies that do that, you can see a dramatic change in people. So let's see what else we got here. And it ties in because like if you look into the stories of like Inky and Inlo, I'm trying to remember which one of the brothers was the sociopath. But one of the brothers, he wanted to teach humanity. He wanted them to grow and evolve and be their own people. And the other brother, he wanted to wipe them all out. And when that did not become planned, he decided to use the human race to further, these occult practices of like in Mesoamerica with the child sacrificing, all that kind of stuff. So we have the yin and yang, the good and evil, and within the cabal there is that sense. And it's kind of interesting how it's all like, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, it's a uniparty. Here in America, if you live here in this area in America, it's all a uniparty. And same with the cabals. And I think it's interesting how, and the reason why I picked this article, I actually did not do my homework and actually read it. But when I saw it had parts about the elongated skulls, I was like, okay, it's connecting to that story. So we'll jump into that part of it here. As I argue in the Ascension Mysteries, the Cabal members believe themselves to be descendants of human-looking extraterrestrials with elongated skulls. All right, this is the part I was looking for. These skulls have been found all over the world and are definitely the remains of some alternative form of human being from what we normally see. This was confirmed with DNA tests ordered by Brian Forrester in 2014 showing mutations unknown in any human primate or animal known so far. And that is in regards to the DNA testing of the elongated skulls. The skulls themselves have obvious abnormalities including completely different cranial structures, alternative passageways for nerve fibers and blood vessels. There is no plausible skeptical explanation that can account for widespread presence of these remains worldwide. We already covered that. Obviously, the visible Cabal members do not display any structural abnormalities in their skulls. Interbreeding has long as since obscured such a difference. And if you know anything about the royal bloodline in the UK, that's a one big inbreeding family. However, as recently as the 1400s, the Italian noble d'Este family clearly displayed these physiological features in various depictions, such as the paintings of Pasanello, as you're seeing right here in front of you. Now, if you remember earlier, when we were looking at the skulls and looking at the drawings, the ears were higher up, just like in these photos. All right, this becomes far more interesting once we realize that a majority of European royal bloodlines have direct genetic tie to the d'Este clan. Furthermore, as of 2012, we found out all American presidents except 8 Van Buren were direct descendants of King John of England, who signed the Magna Carta in 1215. That's gonna, and this is what I mean. How it was all gonna kind of tie into one another. How it all ties in. So, in fact, you can genetically analyze the contestants of each election at least up to 2016, and whoever has more of this royal blood will be the winner. That, okay. Think about that. Yikes. Yikes indeed. I'm telling you, Bushido mindset. It keeps on getting wilder and wilder the more you uncover. Man. And we're going to read the article about the presidents. That article is hilarious. Okay, far from being a statistical fluke, this is one of the multiple pieces of evidence that U.S. presidents have been part of these hidden bloodlines. Also, i.e., the occults. In fact, you can genetically analyze the contestants. Oh yeah, we read that part. Okay, all right. French Merovingian era aristocrat's skull has elongated shape. In 2013, it was also announced that an elongated skull was found in the tomb of a French noblewoman dating back to the Merovingian era. Okay, there we go, Merovingian. Oof. The Merovingian bloodline is supposedly descended from Mary Magdalene, at least in the Cabbal's own tradition as revealed in the Da Vinci Code. Interesting. This was automatically written off as a case of head binding, but it is acknowledged that multiple skulls like this have been found throughout Europe. We already know about that. Let's see. Oh, okay. Hold on. We're gonna do this. Okay. A medical name for this is. Oh yeah, we talked about that. The elongated skull has been formed to that. Yeah, to that disease. Skulls without was the elongated skull shape has been referred to as a I don't know. Oof, I've been at this for we're almost getting to 3 hours. I'm sorry, guys. Skulls without as much length are referred to as oh, good lord. Dolichos, okay, I got that one, is Greek for elongated, and Ceph means skull. Brach means short in Greek. Okay, the French anthropologist Georges Vacar de Laponge was very likely working on behalf of the Cabal when he wrote the racist treatise, The Aryan, His Social Role in 1899. Ah, okay. So it says Lepault believed people with elongated skulls were superior. He wrote in another book in 1899, The Aryan, His Social Role, in which he opposed the Aryan races to the okay, interesting. Oh, okay, I get what they're saying now. And intended to delineate types of man, each destined to one end, in order to prevent any competition to labor conditions. His anthropology thus aimed at preventing social conflict by establishing a fixed hierarchical social order. Laponge had a direct influence on Nazi racial and eugenic doctrine. The Nazi concept of the Aryan master race was derived from Lepault's writings, extolling the virtues of people with elongated skulls. Interesting. Many people only think of it in the typical terms of blood, hair, and blue eyes, but the elongated skull aspect is a central significance as well. Okay. You cannot explain this away by head binding. Yeah, we talked about that. Um, what is this? All right, this is from 2009. What happened to the hominids who may have been smarter than us? Two neuroscientists say that a now extinct race of humans had big eyes, childlike faces, and an average intelligence of around 150, making them geniuses among Homo sapiens. What does that sound like? I'll let you guys use your critical thinking skills on that one. This is a sculpture of Nefertiti's daughter. So that is very curious. Very, very curious. Okay. Discover magazine did not say this was caused by head binding. Look, see? Right there. They very clearly had absolutely declared that this was an alternative human species which was significantly more intelligent. The only deficiency in their scholarship compared to what insiders have told us is that a small number of these people still do live on Earth. They are very secretive and keep to themselves. Their exact number is unknown, but there could be as many as 10 to 25,000. Interesting. The number is purely speculative. It is possible that there are even fewer of them than that here on the planet. Or inside the planet too. There are many more who believe that they have a traceable genetic link to this forgotten race. This is the true nature of the Cabal. Peterson revealed that the Jesuits claim that they have medical proof that they are comprised of 25% alien DNA. Interesting. So, I'm just scrolling through here. I think are we the cast landed. Okay, this guy starts going off on other things. The Atlantis gene. What is this? Okay. Interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and reread this. Got some interesting things in here. But okay. So I wanted to read a little bit of that because it ties into this. Yeah, it is interesting. It is interesting. I was not expecting all of that. I'm pleasantly surprised. But we and they bring it up about the connection to the U.S. presidents, and like I was saying, it's like if what was it, King? Which king was it? Yeah, all American presidents have a direct descendant to King John of England, who signed the Magna Carta in 1215, and if that means that he is also a descendant of the De Este clan in Italy. So, to wrap this all up, we're going to just talk about how this ties into the... Okay, we did do that. To the president as well. So, we're going to read this article. And unfortunately, and I'll get to one interesting part about this article that's very interesting. But here we go. This is from 2012. Okay, 12-year-old girl discovers that all but one U.S. president are directly related to each other. In 2009, a 12-year-old girl stumbled onto an incredible genealogical connection. Every American president but Martin Van Buren shares a common ancestor. Brijan de Abdigon. Why has everyone got these fancy ass names? Then a seventh grader from Salnias, California, began studying ancestral lineage as part of her summer project inspired by her grandfather's 60-year-long dedication to studying presidential genealogy. With plenty of help from her 80-year-old man, it's a little disrespectful, but okay, Bridget learned the process of tracing ancestry on her own line. Once comfortable searching through countless records and certificates, the young girl started looking into the background of several presidents. Soon, she noticed an odd coincidence. Each president seemed to be related to John Lackland Plantagenet, perhaps best known as Robin Hood's enemy, King John. The prodigious royal even signed the Magna Carta in 1215. Sorry, I just remembered I gotta charge my phone. Okay. Apologies. Here we go. Okay, phone, settle down. All right, it took an estimated 500,000 documents and many months of arduous work, but Bridget had finally solved the historical mystery. Although genealogists had previously genetically linked 22 of the presidents, they hadn't been able to find a common ancestor for the majority of the men. Bridget published her results in an infographic titled "We Are All Related," which is still for sale 5 years later. In fact, the chart even made it into the Library of Congress exhibit on Magna Carta earlier this year. She told Good Times Weekly, "I think it would be nice to pass the chart along from generation to generation and keep it alive, so they can know about this information and spread this information. It's important to know about your culture, where you're from, and where your leaders are from." I agree. Well said. Perhaps most important for the budding genealogist, Bridget discovered she's actually the 18th cousin of Barack Obama. At the time of the discovery, she even wrote him a letter to let him know. The Walt Disney Company is officially... What? Is this part of it? No, what the heck? That is weird. Why did the article do that? Let me refresh this real quick. Because I know there's more to this. Hold on a second. I don't know why it's acting like that. Let me pull this up real quick to check on this. Let's see this. Interesting. There was more to it. I could have sworn there was more to this article. Let me see if I could pull up.
Come to TurboTax. And
oh God. I'm trying to see if I could find the photo of the young girl. Can't find it. But she's a white girl. She's a tiny little white girl. I remember seeing a photo of her. Oh, actually, here. You know, I'll pull up this video. This is her. I'll pull up this video. It's only 2 minutes long. I'll pull it up. Give me one quick second.